Are you ready?
Hmm.
All right. It is April 7th, Tuesday, and this is the first episode that we got of Purple Politics. See, we got this new room set up. Got our beautiful whiteboard. Whiteboard kind of represents what this whole idea represents, which is we can erase things easily and change quickly. Purple politics is when you mix red and blue together, you get purple. So we're trying to hit things from the middle, or at least we're talking about things the way that you get the conversation after that you get off the news and you start talking to your friends from around the country. And that's just kind of what it's about. So we're going to be hitting kind of the main topics, main headlines of the day, and walk through them as we see them. And I guess the main thing about Purple Politics, it's not that we are giving people the news. All we're doing is digesting it. So we're not breaking any news. We're just consuming. And we're saying, okay, like, let's figure out how we feel about it. But so first thing we got today is the Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are going under some investigation now. I don't really know all of the details.
So there is a timeline. If you want to know more, it's you go on defense1.com. They actually did a really good job of showing the timeline from January all the way to the point the captain was fired. In this specific situation, it's Captain Brett Crozier, Crozier. Essentially, if you don't know much about it, he was fired because he wrote a letter actually to about 20 to 40 people when his chain of command, he felt like his chain of command wasn't responding. They docked and they actually had to get people off the ship who were sick. And one of the things that he said in his letter is that there is no reason for people to die because we're not at war. And he wanted to reduce the ship to about 10% down to 10% of the staff to keep it on course, but at the same time felt like it was unnecessary to put so many of our service members at risk for such a crazy disease. I mean, we're at the point where we're all staying home. This is an unprecedented time, and he was taking an unprecedented action. And for me, a big part of that, and when you look at the larger context of this, is that the reason why they got mad at him, from my perspective, was not because he took the action, was because, and so from the letter that I'm reading on Defense One, that's one of the things that they were worried about. And after firing him was called, so it pulled in the port of Guam, and at that point, so March 22nd, they had their first diagnosis. March 24th, 2 more people. March 25th, 5 more people. So you could see this thing. On March 28th, had 8 people. So you can kind of see this thing going south really fast. And so he sent 2 emails out to essentially get somebody's attention, to get people off the ship.
Were they not getting like appropriate care even on the ship?
Yeah. So he said the spread of this disease ongoing and accelerating. Decisive actions is required. We're not at war. Sailors do not need to die. So
yeah,
for what essentially he was seeing was that the response to the COVID-19 and the fact that it was spreading on ship was not being taken as seriously as it needed to. And
the direct officer that had any ability to change anything was not listening to him. When did his direct officer call him like naive and stupid? Was it like during these interchanges, like early on?
No,
or was it afterwards? Now that
from what it looks like on the timeline was after he was let go. And many of you have probably seen when he's getting off the ship, his subordinates were all cheering him on. Just to show that he's done a wonderful job up until this point, and still actually, if I'm on a ship and I'm going through what we're going through, I want my captain to put my life
Yeah,
above his image as a captain.
sure. And he
And
knew,
that's what he did.
and he knew that he was taking on that risk of getting fired by doing this.
Yeah.
But so you said that he sent like 20 letters out. Was he
Mhm.
sending 20 letters out?
He sent it to 20 people. So
Just
when he-
email or whatever.
Yeah, 20. He sent out.
But
20.
he didn't send it like to media people, right? Like he still kept it in house, at least in the name.
Yeah. So he sent it to
Mhm.
includes his staff and leaders inside and outside his chain of command.
So he just like jumped a few levels up, saw what traction was, and then when those levels heard about it, did they immediately then report his most superior officer, and that's when he got fired?
Well, yeah. So no. So yeah. So first they had a meeting. Crozier's immediate boss, Adam Baker, embarked on the board the Roosevelt
Okay.
as the commander of the strike group. Learns about the letter from Crozier's group email, and then later that morning, Mosley holds a conference call about the letter with the group that it was sent out to. And then at 7:47 a.m., Crozier posts to their official Facebook page that the team is working with the great folks at Naval Base Guam to get sailors off the ship and into facilities on base to help spread the crew out. So in that, he didn't, his post on Facebook was just saying, look, if you're worried about your children, your sons and daughters, we're at Guam, we're getting people off.
And this is when the higher officials were already starting to actually take action.
Yeah. And so Tuesday, March 31st is when San Francisco Chronicle obtained the letter and published it.
Got it. See, I understand why this guy got fired. Because he jumped his command. I don't think he should have been fired because it was inappropriate. He was actually doing his job, right?
Yeah, he's the only hero in this situation.
What's interesting is the early news headlines to me, though, were Donald Trump fired this guy.
Yeah, so that's the thing is to figure out is did his firing, was that acted on alone?
Like, did Trump actually get involved in this? And is it Trump's responsibility to actually jump in and say this guy shouldn't lose his job? I think because he is the president, he has the ability to jump into these situations and say, no, this guy's not getting fired.
So you guys, you remember when there was a SEAL that killed a prisoner of war?
Sure.
Trump jumped in, and there was other Navy members who said, "Hey, this SEAL is crazy. He's killing prisoners of war." And then conservatives were like, "Well, why are we trying to protect terrorists? So what if he killed a terrorist?"
Sure.
Okay, he jumped in that situation.
Right.
And then now we have a situation where I'm just trying to figure out where all the people that got mad at Kaepernick for kneeling and saying he disrespected, and even though Kaepernick said directly that he never disrespected,
right,
or was trying to disrespect him, he specifically pointed out why he was kneeling. I'm just trying to figure out why I don't see those same people on social media going crazy that a captain got fired. A captain who served and is watching out for the best interests when he's putting the lives of the people on his ship higher than the politics of the situation.
Right.
I mean, this guy should be given every medal available.
But a lot of people are jumping this guy's defense, right? The Republicans aren't, but the Democrats are.
That's
but oddly enough, Trump is not necessarily crushing this guy yet, right? Or is he kind of taking like a middle road on it still?
His silence tells me all I need to know. Trump jumps on anything, jumps on everything. If he's willing to,
he's not scared to jump.
Yeah, he's willing to jump on a SEAL that's killing prisoners of war.
Sure.
Why is the situation any different?
Well, so he hasn't jumped on it though, at all yet, right?
Right.
He hasn't adamantly jumped here or there. He's still kind of assessing.
Right, because he knows. Well, And that tells me it's because he's trying to make a calculated political risk, right? The reason, if he was for sure for it, he wouldn't even have to wait this long. He'd be jumping on it right away, as we all know.
It's overwhelmingly Republicans right now that are looking at this issue and saying, fuck this guy?
No, what I'm saying is I'm not hearing much from the Republicans. As the Republicans who I'm so used to defending a guy breaking the law that killed a prisoner of war, I'm like, why are you guys getting out of the way on this situation? Is it always like if it's about following the rule, obviously this other guy got a pass. So why is it that a captain of a Navy ship, which takes it's probably one of the hardest jobs ever attained because you're competing against so many other smart people who graduate from the Naval Academy, who've been there for 2 decades. It takes a while to get such a prestigious post.
Sure.
Why is it taking so long? Because it didn't take that long for the Democrats to jump on it, right?
Right, because I think the Democrats early on felt there was resistance from the Republicans with it, right?
No, because there was a video that came out
of him like getting cheered and stuff on the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't hear a lot of Republicans adamantly against it. Granted, I haven't watched any Fox News today.
Right, but that's what I'm trying to say is that there is a lack of consistency, and there is a high case of hypocrisy, and the reason why behind that is because the chain of command from our executive branch starts with Donald Trump.
Sure.
And if Donald Trump is saying we only have 15 cases, we're going to get down to 0 right away, and he wants to control the narrative from the beginning.
Yeah.
And coronavirus doesn't care about your political affiliation or your narrative or your time.
Yeah.
And so they were willing to put American lives on a ship on the line in order to control the narrative. He didn't like that. He saw that there were people that were getting sick and were going to die on the ship.
That makes sense.
And goes above the chain of command. This is to me one of the dangerous things of having somebody who cares more about their image, starting from the top, when they care about the people that are lacking a level of empathy for somebody who's not right in front of you is not the type of leadership that we need. And so what I'm looking for in this middle ground is say that there has to be times where Republicans know that something is wrong, because do the deafening silence tells me that they know in their hearts of hearts something is wrong. And if Obama would have done this, Fox News would have been jumping down his throat. And
if he was silent on this issue.
If he was not only silent on this issue, but the fact that
I think you're right with that.
And so there has to be, in this situation now, Trump is silent.
But he's not today. He's not silent though. Today he's saying we're figuring this out.
Right.
He's like, I don't know if I'm not sure where I'm at with this.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why don't you know where you're at? You know, because if this was like a random situation, fire him. But we know that we've never been in a situation like this before.
Yeah.
We have cities, states, governments across the world that are taking crazy measures. If he just docked the ship with no cases, I would get that. But
did they quarantine the ship? Like, did the guys go on and off?
What do you mean? Once he got fired?
No. Like when the ship was docked, did the people also not leave?
No. So they weren't. They weren't allowed to dock, and so he was like, "No, I have to dock."
Okay. Because I guess one of the things that I could see is, was he going to a dock that didn't have Corona yet? And he's bringing a ship to a dock that has Corona. And they're like, well, what do we do about this?
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, we would have read about it. I just haven't seen that in the timeline. And this timeline is usually, if Defense One is more of like a conservative middle leaning, and they just kind of put out, the whole timeline. And that's why if you just Google Defense One timeline, USS Theodore Roosevelt, you'll be able to read it for yourself. They even link the letters on there and just kind of give you a very much straight up. He took an action to save the lives of the people on his ship. If you make somebody the captain of your ship, you're saying you trust their judgment and decision.
Yeah.
If you do not trust their judgment and decision, then we do not actually have a strong military. The person that is on ship, the captain of that ship.
So the
makes
guy
best
who
decision.
fired him wasn't even on the ship.
No, he is not. He was in Washington.
Okay.
And so,
And that's where it also gets weird. Weren't you saying that this guy wasn't even a long-term military dude who fired him?
So the guy who fired him actually, he did go to the Naval Academy. He did serve for 7 years.
Okay.
Then he went and did a lot. He went into the private business sector, which is fine. So he's somebody who understands the military. I was hoping they didn't just take somebody and put him in.
But he was just playing protect Trump from Washington.
That is my analysis of the situation.
And I get that. So if he's not listening to the guy who's on the boat, I was for some reason thinking that he was maybe even on the boat with this guy.
No.
But he wasn't on the boat. So he wasn't listening to the guy who was on the highest level of the boat.
That's the captain.
And the captain's like, bro, we have some major issues here. And he's calling DC, and DC's not giving him any love. So then he jumps the gun on that. Yeah. I would say that's like what movies are written off of, right?
I mean, yeah, there's actually a movie with what's his name.
I just watched a movie the other night. It was called Kill or something. It's awesome. It's on Amazon.
Yeah. There's like Red something, Hunt for Red Actor, whatever. There's also, what's that movie with who's that actor?
Killer Shit movie was great.
And he's like, you can't handle the truth. It's like, you want the truth, you can't handle it. Who is that with? Why am I forgetting his name? He plays all the Mission Impossible movies. He's a Scientologist.
Wait, Scientologist? John Travolta?
No, it's
Isn't John?
No, Travolta is. But who's the one that's like he's in the Mission?
Oh, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Yeah, what's that movie with Tom Cruise? Where he's a lawyer. A Few Good Men.
Ah, yeah, it's a classic.
And that movie is, obviously
Hunter Killer. On Amazon. It's nice.
Okay.
But this guy, so basically what's going on in Hunter Killer is we got this American ship in Russian waters. And this Russian ship, there ends up being this huge espionage where Russia is attacking Russia internally. The head of defense is attacking the president. And we have this guy in our ship who he's dope. He's like breaking all the rules, jumping over commanders, and he's like just being the captain.
Yeah.
So I do think that we should all watch that movie to just realize that's the kind of captain we want. Because if we cheer for him in the cinema, we should cheer for him in life.
100%. Especially in this type of situation, because it's one of those where he's not like jumping chain of command all the time. He's doing it in a situation where he felt like he had no other option.
Sure, I get it. All right, Navy SEALs. Yeah. I got a Red X for you.
Nice. You can tell this is the first episode.
I guess maybe a Blue X would have been better because that means Democrats win that one.
That's funny.
It's like tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. So you can't see it that well.
Oh yeah, you can see it X'd out. All right, it's X'd out.
Maybe we'll just put like a D or an R next to it. So.
A what?
A D or an R.
Oh, that'd be funny. All right, so we got LA's clean air. I was just on a run today. Don't worry, I wasn't running outside. I never went to a park. But I was thinking the first thing that I want to do once the first day that we get released, I want to go up to Runyon Canyon and see how far you can see. Because I bet you might be able to see China.
Yeah.
You're gonna you can see Catalina Island for the first time in a while.
That would be crazy. Maybe even Hawaii.
Nobody knows. Because it's the cleanest air that we've had in how many years? What's going on?
Since humans have come to California.
It's got to be the cleanest air in the last 30 years, right?
I mean, 30 years ago, it was horrible because we didn't have emission control.
So this is the cleanest air we've had in LA for over 100 years?
I mean, I would say at least 60 to 75 years.
Okay.
It's crazy.
So we got the cleanest air in LA that we've had in 60 years. And this feels like a pretty big win, right? Like we're all happy about it.
I mean, I was just telling LJ that I had my best PR today. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that I can take in more air in my lungs. Yeah, it's making a difference.
But what does this mean politically? Like, does this mean that the Green New Deal is like where we should step into right now? We're basically Green New Deal right now.
I mean, what it means is that Mayor Garcetti, I don't know what Mayor Garcetti does, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what changes are happening since he's been in office. He's good at, like,
he speaks well.
He speaks well. He tells people that he loves data, which I know he does. But I'm like, what are you doing? Because if you really want to push LA's forward, we got to really, build out our infrastructure for mass transportation. And then we also.
Why don't we have? It's crazy that we don't have underground subway to the airport. That would make like every.
I think that's what they're building out right now.
But every other major metropolitan city has like underground subway to the airport. I'm not even talking to like the light rail system.
Yeah. No, yeah, it would be nice. I think there's a lot more because I know they've been advertising that the new transportation that they're building will go from downtown to Santa Monica.
But it's not a straight shot, though, is it?
No, these are going to be straight shot ones.
Okay.
So you'll be able to get in the Arts District. We can go straight to Santa Monica. I think in 23 minutes.
Because everybody gets pissed at LA people for driving all the time. But we have no other option.
True. Yes and no. I think that we've built such a culture around it. For the most part, yes. It's not as good as like in New York. Our layout looks different. It's easier in New York because it's just a straight line.
Yeah.
From the top to bottom.
Well, yeah, New York's an easy grid. Yeah. But even like areas like San Francisco, they have better transportation and they're on a hill.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I think the 50s when we had cars, went out because we invested a lot into highways. When people thought highway investment was stupid, like,
yeah,
why do we need a ability to go from here to New York? And then it's like, well, for military reasons, we built it.
Right. Well, Trump is actually big on infrastructure right now.
That's great.
He's really beaten down the whole idea. He even said that we wrecked the Middle East yesterday. I don't know if it was a slip.
Yeah.
But he was like, hey, it was kind of in one of his like rants and raves. He's like, the other administration said that they were building the Middle East up and we basically wrecked it and we should be building our own highways. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Actually, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, infrastructure is definitely a sound investment that helps out the average American. And that's the things that our government should invest in.
So, but what about this LA air? What can we actually do about it? So we got great air. You're getting PRs. We can see Catalina Island from basically like Minnesota. But like, what can we do on a policy level to actually change this?
We just got to be a lot more serious about getting investment into not only public transportation, but the recycling in LA is the worst. Like
Minnesota is way better.
Puts LA into shame when it comes to recycling.
Yeah.
I remember the first time we started recycling was 2001, and the city in Minneapolis came and dropped off a blue bin, a green bin, and a black bin.
Right.
And that's when we started. And we moved out to LA, and we were shocked at how behind this place is.
Minnesota's always sitting around, and they're like, "Well, we do this because obviously LA and New York."
Yeah.
And then you get out here, and you're like, "No."
Yeah. Minnesota is one of those places that is truly purple, in the sense that, like, yes, you can go out to Grand Rapids, Rochester, and find a lot of conservative folks who are just like, look, I want to have my 2 to 3 mile space, and I want to kind of do my own thing. And I'm like, great. And then you have people in Minneapolis that you got Purple Prince, and it does really well from a perspective of just the right amount of conservative ideas and liberal ideas.
Yeah, we got our first viewer on here.
Cool.
I don't know who they are, but I just want to say hi. You're our first viewer ever. We're really happy that you're in the room, and we're here for you.
You too?
Yeah. Purple Politics is all about red and blue talking and just trying to figure it out. Like, what is actually in the middle? Getting in fights to be able to, discuss this more properly, but always giving a space where we're actually always there. And because I think that we both found that I am usually in either a red room or a blue room. Rarely do I find people in the middle. And then a lot of times when you're in media or you see the airways, that's always just blue or red. And so it's fun to be able to actually consume the information instead of always just giving people news. Let's just talk about the news that we're hearing and seeing how we feel about it. We don't always have to jump to ultimate conclusions right away, even though like our intuition does. And intuition is an important thing to follow, but leave a little bit of room for your intuition to have some changes available.
That's true.
And I'm speaking as a conservative, and that's the face I hope everybody wants. Because, a lot of intuitions for conservatives. I read something about a Navy SEAL.
We'll have to, and then come back more to the LA clean air and see,
any conservative can get around this, which is a conservative in LA can realize, hey, at least we can affect ourselves here.
Right.
And I don't know if that has anything to do with the ozone. 99% of scientists say it does. Right. And so we should probably take their interest and understanding.
If you only believe that it only affects your local place and we're willing to meet halfway on at least pushing policies that will make your local air more green, great.
Well, I think from sometimes the conservative argument when it comes to where we're going as far as like climate change as a whole,
right?
It's less about do humans have an impact, but it's more about, well, what the heck can we even do about it?
Yeah.
And then things come out like the Green New Deal, where it's like, oh, you have to ground every single plane. And it's like, well, if that's the answer, there is no answer.
That's not the type mentality that makes America great.
No.
That's not the type mentality that got us to the moon. And so we got to stop thinking that, especially conservatives from LJ,
That's why
we need them step
up.
But
that's why we're Purple Politics. We're teaching you what people in Minnesota actually think about. All right, so Wisconsin votes today.
This is atrocious. This is the thing that makes me the most heated today is this situation. So, we got our Supreme Court, and it's mostly Republican, right? I think it's 5-4 or 6-3 at this point. Wisconsin asked for an extension because of COVID-19. That extension was blocked by the majority U.S. Supreme Court.
Do they still have that governor that everybody hates?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for example,
who asked the Supreme Court for the extension? Even the governor was
I think it was probably the Democrats who brought it up, and it got up to the Supreme Court.
Because the governor could have done it himself, right?
Say again?
The governor could have changed this himself.
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. But here's the crazy part: there is usually 180 polling places. Guess how many are there today? 5.
So they're voting only on 5 spots today in all of Wisconsin.
There's 600,000. No, this is Milwaukee. Majority black. That's usually where the place is. Georgia did the same thing. Majority black parts of the state. Polls closed down. 600,000 people that live in Milwaukee as of 2018 count. So for stats now, if you do the math, that's about 120,000 people during the coronavirus per polling place.
That's a tough food truck fair.
If this is not voter suppression, I don't know what is.
Can they still mail in?
No. So that was what the Democrats wanted and said, look, can we get absentee ballots?
At least.
Yes. And they said no absentee ballots and no extension of the.
So, but all of Wisconsin's voting today, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying this particular 180 polling places is just in Milwaukee alone that we're discussing right now?
This is Milwaukee alone. 108 polling places. Now there's only today. There's only 5 polling places. 5 total. So for 600,000 people to have only 5 polling places, that now knocks it down to about 120,000 people per poll. That makes no sense.
Is this for the primary, or this is for the Democratic thing, right?
Yes, but also for Republicans.
There is Republican seats that are up. for
Yeah,
this?
because you vote for other.
It's all the other stuff as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not just voting for the
Yeah,
president.
yeah, absolutely. You're doing all those different. We're gonna actually. The reason that we're doing this too is for us to be able to walk through the steps of even learning about some of this. Because honestly, on a local level, I still struggle going to the polls.
Right.
I go to the polls in LA, and I don't even know. Probably a third of, if not half of it, I didn't even know that was up for election, and I don't even know how I have ability to be able to discover what I should be looking at to know who I'm voting for.
To add on to this situation, I'm reading from a comment section in Reddit right now to show two different perspectives. So first one says, and quote, I am a Wisconsinite. I'd like everyone who may not be aware to know there are people like myself who requested an absentee ballot over 3 weeks ago that never got one. I will have to make a choice to break my 3-week quarantine to vote today or not vote at all. I've never missed an election and I'm furious. I don't even know what to say other than I don't want this to be overlooked. Now, look at this next comment right under that one. Wisconsinite checking in. Wife and I got our ballots within 3 days of requesting them, but we live in the North Shore area, one of the most conservative in the nation. Coincidence? Next comment. We got ours within 3 days too. I also live in an area that swings more red. I don't personally.
That efficiency in the red areas, dude, they're just quick.
I don't personally, but my neighbors sure do. I think you may be onto something.
That's crazy.
It just shows you that when Republicans are in charge, they will do whatever it takes to suppress voters because higher voter turnout rate generally means that a Democrat will win. And so it does not make sense to me that this is happening in the United States of America. This is shit that happens in banana republic countries.
Yeah, this is appalling.
This is happening here today amidst the coronavirus. How do you not extend voting, and then you don't even want people to go to the grocery store?
The Supreme Court now doesn't. You're talking about Wisconsin Supreme Court.
No, it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Now, you would think that the U.S. Supreme Court they have some political stances, obviously, because there's right now. But why would they go against this? Like, what was their reasoning behind not opening?
They said that, and I'm paraphrasing. They said that it will change the nature of the election, and it's like, well, yeah, no shit. It's going to change the nature of the election because we have a virus that is out there that we're.
So was the amount of polling stations cut down because of the virus?
That I don't know, but I assume that is the case. So that's the other part. It's like, let's say whether that's the reason or not. Let's go with the now.
I'm just wondering, did the governor take down all those polling places just for fun or before the even virus happened?
Well, but so Kemp
he's blaming it on the virus at least.
Kemp did something like that in Georgia during his governor election, which he oversaw as Secretary of State. He closed voting locations, purged voter records, and it was hard to register for people.
Okay.
Rejected for putting in a number 2 versus writing out TWO in your address, for example. So if you were doing 300 South Santa Fe, maybe if you wrote out 300 versus, having the numbers 300 in there, that could be a reason. And he only did that for the Democrat part of the state, which makes this so much worse. And so people should be going to jail over this because
for sure.
This is not an attack on Democrats. This is an attack
on democracy.
On democracy, which you're just opening the door for the next person to do something worse. I mean, I don't know how to do something worse.
Is Wisconsin currently in lockdown? Or are they not? Even though everybody should be on lockdown.
Wisconsin is stay-at-home order.
Stay-at-home order, but then they're not allowing the mail in. So this is crazy.
I mean, all they want is just an extension. But can you extend it for another week or two? Wisconsin voters find long. I mean, the line right now, the average line to vote is about 4 hours right now. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday night ruled that Wisconsin cannot accept absentee ballots postmarked after its voting day.
What? Okay, I chalk that up as crazy. Let's keep on monitoring the situation in Wisconsin. It sounds like it's already fucked. I'd call it already a loss.
Yeah, this is crazy.
No, but going further with this coronavirus voting, how are we going to vote during the corona though? Because I think because it's obviously supposed to take flight again going into the fall, potentially even stronger. It would be fun to realize or understand that I don't think mail-in ballots are going to help the Democrats, regardless.
What do you mean? It's not about helping. It's not about helping or hurting. It's about having a fair system for people.
No, I'm saying that we're probably going to have to go to all mail-in.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like,
there's no problem with the all mail-in. It's about just having access to something. So if you did it all mail-in, great, get the mail out. But if I requested something and I don't get it for 3 weeks, and you request something, you get it in 3 days because you have an R next to your name and I have a D next to my name.
it's messed up.
That's messed up. And so it does. If we all get an absentee ballot, then great. That's all you need to do.
I'm just saying,
It's so simple.
why can't we vote online? I just don't know why. With all of the engineers that we have available, and all it is an A or B when it comes to Trump or Biden. Why can't by November you log in on a secured system and press A or B?
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre to me that we don't have that ability because they're saying like, okay, we're just going to probably do mail in for our election. Potentially, it's up in the air.
Yeah.
I don't think that helps democracy at all.
Right.
Because then the next president who gets in, if it's mail in, I think it'll probably be Trump. Because it just so happens that I think Republicans that are old and mailing in, they're going to be mailing in.
Right.
And I think the Democratic voters are young and busy.
Right.
And I think that some Democrats, and me being included in like this millennial, we literally some of us don't even know how to count, which is pathetic.
Yeah.
And I'm only speaking for myself. And,
Right.
and I'm a person who's probably going to vote more conservative, even though I'm not going to vote for Trump in that particular election.
And I think we handle that when we get there. But for now,
I just think we should start getting ready for like.
The problem with online voting is that it's not secure enough right now, as we've seen. Obviously, you saw the debacle that happened with in Iowa with the online voting.
Yeah.
Anytime there's technology, until we can create something that's so secure, and there's a high incentive for hackers to hack voting.
But this is what I'm so confused about. We are all so scared to vote online, but we already do all of our banking. So
Right.
like the system's like, hey, I can't trust enough that I'm going to be able to get your Trump or your Biden vote to this place and to be able to just tally it.
But
and we have all of our financial systems currently online.
Okay, so let's look at that, right? If you look at our financial system, if I look at my bank account and I see $10 missing, $1,000 missing, whether I see it today or if I see it missing 2 weeks from now, I can call the bank. And the bank is like, okay, somehow we have digital money missing from your account. Here's your money back. We're going to investigate and find out what happened to it. It happens all the time. People lose their card. Somebody spends it on them. You might lose a credit card. If you call in and there's fraud protection, there's ways to get your money back. There's insurance behind that. How are you going to get somebody's vote back 2 weeks later?
Well, what if we all have online banking? Most of America does.
Right.
Why wouldn't we use the financial institutions? And if your vote for Trump is Trump's vote, you have to send 50 cents online. Your bank sees the 0.50 come through. And if you want to vote for Biden, you send 30 cents and it's 0.30 comes in.
We can't even allow people to send in something a day later that's posted through the mail. How, if you vote for, let's say you voted for Biden in this situation, and somehow it got switched to Trump, how would you know?
You wouldn't.
And how would the other person know if somebody was able to hack it? Like, there's not enough. Then there's also a time limit, right? Because elections are time limits. There's voting is time limit. It's not like a bank where you can just get your money back, and there's no way to verify. Hey, I looked at my account. I had $500 more yesterday, and I didn't spend it. Where'd it go? Okay, let's investigate.
Yeah, I'm just baffled that we can't have just some easy. I send this, I get a receipt back. Thank you, voted for Trump. Thank you, voted for Biden.
Well,
And now I have my receipt.
I think the way to go to that would be having somebody like San Francisco, which is very high tech. Be like, we convinced our local officials to switch over to this.
Right.
Show what it would look like for it's a major, San Francisco is a major city. You know, if they can show in San Francisco it's done, then move out to Sacramento and let LA try it, and then be a guinea pig before we roll out to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So there has to be somebody who stands up and says, we are going to be the first city to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, Mark Zuckerberg's not going to be able to do it because everybody hates him now. But it would be nice if people still like Mark, because Facebook would be a great way to do it.
Yeah. It's kind of an asshole. I thought he used to be a nice guy.
But if you could just log into your Facebook and vote online, I would do
Yeah.
that. Even though, like, it would be crazy politically. People would be losing their minds.
The easier you can make it for somebody to vote, I think the better. A part of democracy is increasing access to citizens voting.
I agree with you.
Not decreasing it. And we're going from 108, we closed out 97% of the polling places.
Well, it'd be interesting today to see
illegals.
what their voting turnout was 4 years ago relative to now. It'll be drastic.
It'll be much lower. I mean, the lines are 4 hours long. Who wants to wait 4 hours to cast a vote?
All right, we got Boris Johnson in the news.
Well, let me see how he's doing.
So he's the head of the UK, Prime Minister, right?
Yeah, so he is.
And
he's the British Prime Minister.
He's the Brexit guy. He is voted into power to Brexit Britain. And, you know, and then he also was taking a pretty hard stance on this coronavirus, right?
Well,
like,
I think
they kept it open for a little longer than everybody else.
Ticket is longer than needed to close.
I got to give it to the Democrats with this whole situation, though, because I thought there would still be some, like, you know, fuck you, Boris, like, you deserve it. I haven't seen any of that. The comment section has been pretty quiet on it.
Yeah.
That there has not been much you deserve it.
Wow. So this happened 23 minutes ago. It's not breaking news because it happened 23 minutes ago, but you're fine out. Now we have a new hero, and his name is Jack Dorsey from Twitter.
Okay.
He announced on Twitter, I'm moving $1 billion of my Square equity, which is 28% of my wealth, to Start Small LLC to fund global COVID-19 relief. After we disarm this pandemic, the focus will shift to girls' health and education and UBI.
That's what I'm talking about.
It will operate transparently, all flows tracked here. He put out a Google Doc sheet to show you where he's spending his money. Current value, $997,818,354.
What did you see this on? I mean, I'm sure if I just Google it.
Just Twitter.
Oh, on Twitter?
Yep. He just spent 100,000 category COVID-19 for America's Food Fund. Help fund meals to people impacted by COVID-19. Wow.
He's just at Jack.
Yeah,
All right, I'll give him a follow.
that's kind of cool, right? That is the craziest thing I've seen anybody do
And this is
from his level.
and this is what's so interesting about this moment. It's so easy to just care a little bit and to break the pain or break the fear in people's hearts. Like, we've been doing everything we can. Maul's been making masks. I've been making sandwiches. We've all been making dinners for the different populations in LA. But these billionaires who haven't stepped up at all yet, Bezos threw out 100 million. Bravo, whoop-de-doo. Awesome. But also, this is a real amount of money. I didn't even know Jack Dorsey really had it like that. You would have told me Jack Dorsey just picked up that one piece of property.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.